Welcome, Virgo. This is your reading for the week of the 23rd. And I'd like to start with the image that my guides gave me as we started this. And it was a vase, a small vase, with a single flower in it. The flower was dead. It was not rotten, however, it was dried up. And there was still water in the vase. It was a nice, long, thin, clear, four-sided, perfectly clear, perfectly clean, and yet this flower was completely dried up. So as I dialogued with my guides, the sense that I got with this was, this is something that you haven't quite gotten rid of. I hear the word died on the vine, and I don't know if that's entirely true in terms of something that actually happened in your life. But the feeling that I'm getting with this and what they're saying to me about this is that there is something that you haven't quite gotten rid of yet. And what it's doing is it's taking the place of something else that could be very alive. Now, I don't know if this is a relationship, a job, or just an attitude or an idea, but what I feel is that it's linked to the past, that you're hanging on to. In a way, it sort of gives you a strange kind of comfort to look back and know you still have this thing, or you can still look at it, yet it's not really genuinely giving you any pleasure. It's dried up, there's no life to it. The fact that the water is still clear and the vase is still clean says to me that if you were to bring a new idea, person, job, whatever this represents, you have the space for it. Once you get rid of this old thing, you have the nourishment for it. You've got the water. The vase is clear, it's clean. Sunlight obviously is going to reach it. And it has a place of prominence where it's placed in your home. So I'm looking at this, and then as I pull the cards, I'm going, whoa, like this makes perfect sense. The cards that are representing the past, or the things that are kind of like this, that to me would represent hanging on to something that's already dried up and will not be renewed. You've got the idea of uncertainty, chaos, that sense of giving up, or the not knowing, but it's more the sense of the giving up. And that what you're being really encouraged to do here is to get rid of that old flower, get rid of that old piece of vegetation, whatever it is. And you're being asked to do that by considering forgiveness, whether or not it's forgiveness about you, whether or not it's forgiveness about somebody else. It seems to be about some kind of judgment that you still keep going over in your mind. Some kind of recrimination that you have either against yourself or somebody else, or a choice, or how something worked out. So this seems to be the energy that is associated with that thing that you keep hanging on to for no particular good reason other than it's familiar. Maybe you didn't want to see an empty vase because seeing that there, and yes, that's it. So it's like from a mental perspective, from an emotional perspective, it's that by continuing to replay this thing in your head, in a way it keeps you company. It doesn't create space where there's emptiness and potential loneliness or disappointment, as long as you keep regurgitating this thing. But the idea is, of course, once you get rid of it, what you've done is you've created perfect space. And what they're saying is you've got what you need to nourish it. So it's water. Water is emotion. You've got what you would need in order to be able to actually support a new flower. What you're being encouraged to do is to really drop whatever the stress is, drop whatever the emotional weight has been around that. And part of the way that you can do that is by choosing to focus calmly, but to focus on playful things, on intuition, on creativity, and really moving into that side of the brain. And to think, okay, to take on a bit more of a childlike attitude in the concept of play and just kind of letting that all go and saying, okay, what next? You know, there's that quality of what will I create next in my life? What will come up next in my life? Play with your intuition, play with your creativity, whatever creativity means to you. It might be painting, it might be writing, it might be some form of divination or psychic work, because it's still always used that side of the brain. But it's also remembering the good things that there are about you that perhaps you haven't allowed yourself to remember. And to remember that when you think about them and when you allow them to, they radiate around you like a field, well, in a field of energy that's very attractive. You can be very charming, Virgo. You can be very sweet and very charming. And not in a manipulative way. I'm feeling, but I mean, of course, anybody can be manipulative. But what I'm feeling is you can be sweet, you can be romantic, you can be creative, you can be all of these things in a really lovely way. Remember these things about yourself. Allow yourself to see yourself in a good light. And remember that there is way more that's good in you than you give yourself credit for. And just trust that that's going to be there as you throw out that old flower and as you move more into that sense of, I'm dropping the stress, I'm dropping the weight, I'm going to make a list of the things that are weighing on me and I'm going to cross them off one at a time if I need to do it that way. Maybe I can just go, no, I'm not going to worry anymore. That's it, I'm done. Now I'm going to focus on this. You are also being encouraged to look at yourself and say, if you were a child, if you were kind of starting over, what parts of yourself would delight you to explore? What parts of you did you not get to explore because of whatever was going on in your childhood? And allow yourself to consider those things and even just those desires as part of that wonderful energy in you that can come to the surface and will come to the surface. So if I were to encapsulate this in something a little more brief, it would be, let the old stuff go. Get rid of what is not serving you. Let whatever is holding your mind in a track that is not serving you, other than to keep you in place and not feeling lonely, you could take a chance on getting rid of that thought, letting go of that kind of anchor into whatever is holding you in that heavy place, and move into the idea of, I'm going to reinvent. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to create the space for something new to come into my life, but also like into myself. I'm going to let that go so I can develop these wonderful other thoughts and abilities and attributes that I would like to see, that I would have liked to have been living before now, if I go back to my childhood and think about that. Okay? Of course, one of the things that can be very difficult sometimes when we're looking at what would I like is that if we haven't had a lot of hopes or dreams as a kid, because sometimes they can be really squashed by virtue of what we're living, go to what it wasn't and then flip it. So if it was, being stuck in the house, well, what would have not being stuck in the house felt like? What would you might have done? What might you would have explored? If it was not being able to take a music lesson, is there one you'd like to take? What would it be? What instrument would it be? Do you want to take a lesson? Do you want to look at it online? Do you just want to explore that excitement and the possibility of adventure? Because Virgo, we know, as a fellow earth sign here, we know that we can get kind of in a rut. That's part of what an earth sign does. We hang on to things. You're the one who can let go. You're the one who has to decide whether or not you're going to be willing to feel a little ungrounded, because that's the irony, right? Even the negative thoughts can be very grounding to us because they ground us into a part of us that we're familiar with. This is saying to you, what would you like to become familiar with in yourself that you're not? What would you like to grow that you're not? You have the capacity to do it. It's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to move into the energy of forgiveness, because forgiveness is really genuinely about letting the past go. Okay? And letting go of the thoughts that keep bringing that past back. So that is it for you, my dears. Good luck. Again, it's a lovely reading, because what they're showing me, again, is you have the vase, you have the container for it, there's already water in it, it's all clean, which says to me, it's really your choice. Do you throw out that old flower that ironically or unrealistically is dried up even though it's still in water? Do you want to put your energy into that? Really? Or would you rather have something new and beautiful and take a chance on it being even more wonderful and even perhaps more comforting in its newness than the other was comforting in its familiarity? Okay? I think it's a wonderful possibility here. I think it's all sorts of great energy. So Virgo, my dear Virgos, lift up your feet, get out of the dirt, see where you can go. You can really, like literally, I'm seeing you kicking off the dust. So that's it for the week. Have a great holiday, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. It's a holiday week kind of everywhere. So whatever it means to you, I hope you have a good one. And I'll be back next week. And if you like this, it would be great if you would give a thumbs up, subscription, share. All of that's really great for moving the channel forward and gives me more time to do more stuff. Thank you. Have a great week.